we met a lot of entrepreneurs, and on the one hand they said, don't talk about your product, don't talk about your company from the very first moment, but rather hide it. And on the other hand, people say, talk as early as possible and meet people and discuss the product, the business model, and everything you want to do with your company. So the question now would be, when is this the best time to use social media for startups?
I think it really depends on what you're doing, what your product is, and how far along the curve it is. If you've got something that's a pretty simple idea, a pretty basic idea that you're out there and you know what it is, you can start at the very beginning and start getting input and feedback. If your product is something that you're not too sure about and you want to do a lot of beta testing and whatnot, then you want to pull back a little bit, maybe have a specific group or reach out to a few people and have a closed group, but you don't want to fail in front of the world at large. So it really depends on where you are at in the process of your product, how revolutionary it is. That's another thing you have to consider is how much do you want that first mover advantage to be the one that's out there first? Because sometimes even if it's not that great, if you're the first one on Twitter, if you're the first one to do it, then you get a huge advantage even if you crash on a daily basis.
I agree with everything he says, and with having beta groups or with having customer advisory boards, I think is important. But there's one change here, and that's how we're using social media. You should be using social media from the go as a research development tool before you even talk. This is my favorite use, and I like to talk, but I like to listen more. Because you know what? It's amazing what people will tell us, and for free. And while they'll freely voice their opinions, it takes specialists to be able to deduce and understand what they're telling us about competitors, competitive products, what resonates with them, what their pain points are. That's all marketing. And if you know how to listen and monitor these conversations, you can improve your product and hopefully not fail and even better yourself. That's the way I would use social media from the get-go. I would wait until you're ready enough to go out and use it as a promotional tool.
Yeah, I think listening is definitely, you can do that right from the start. You don't need to wait to listen to people about what they're saying about your potential market if you're going to release a product. When to start is a tough question, because I know we'll grapple with this. I mean, my business partner is definitely not a fan of going out there and saying a lot about what we're doing.
Okay.
And that's kind of his personality a little bit. You know, I'm a fan of putting more out there. What we're doing, so we're going to have to balance things. It's kind of tough. I think the best time to start, though, when we're talking about this, is when you've got some goals. So what do you want to achieve? Social media, you start blogging, or if you start Twittering, or whatever you want to do. I think you should just talk about what you want to do. Is it to get investment? Is it to build hype about a company that you need consumers to flock to because it's going to be an ad model or something like that? Is it about just simply building a relationship with a small group of potential customers, or building expertise in that market could be B2B, or something like that? I mean, those are the sort of questions that you should ask yourself and then set some goals around those. I guess we're trying to decide when is the best time.
And that's old marketing too. That hasn't changed.
No.
What are your objectives? Who are your target audiences? That's all core marketing. And one thing that we've really been enjoying, we marketing geeks have been enjoying going back and forth on, is looking at, just who was elected the Democratic nominee, Obama. And everyone's saying, you know what, it's because you use social media, that's why landslide. And we're like, no, actually. Now, social media helped him with fundraising, but what really got him there was the core 101 of figuring out a proposition, delivering on it, building programs around it, being consistent, and looking for others' weaknesses. And sure, social media helped, but Obama and all the candidates were listening in on our Twitter conversations, or their constituents were listening, pretty much from the get-go. I actually thought it was a joke at first, but it wasn't. They were actually monitoring, because anyone could do that. But so it really comes back to, what are your goals? His goal clearly was to not be in a lot of debt, and to make sure and to tap in. But they were leveraging as much what we call marketing 101 as 2.0.
And then the one sort of hybrid model that I keep seeing coming up from these startups is that you have this company that's totally secret, and then lo and behold, someone gets a hold of some screenshot, and then that's enough, like, to view. I just saw something like this on TechCrunch today, and so, for the next 6 months, that'll be all you hear about this company, but it'll still be like, the next Google killer, or the next, like, whatever killer it is. And then, someone gets a little backdoor access, and it's just this thing. And so even just with these little teasers, it's almost like a little trail in the woods, it's enough. There are so many of these people who will buy into that kind of hype and buy into that will be more than happy to spread it for you. So
There's so
That's a
many
classic
niches. I mean, there'll
technical-
always be
Yeah.
a niche to carry that. There'll always be new people coming on. If anything, we're going to a micro niche society, such as social media. It's you can fragment, you can target on preferences, on passions, on pain points, on a mix thereof. It's no longer mass market. I mean,
And people, to pick up what David just said, people love, it's an amazing thing, there are a certain personality type that loves just being the one person in the know and touting products. There was a fascinating story, I think it was in the Sunday Times Magazine, about 2-3 years ago, about this company called Buzz Marketing that would put out give new products to people for free, and the payoff was that they would talk it up. They would go into the supermarket and say, "Hey, do you have new, Tropicana Freeze Berry Crunch?" And very loudly, and
with
they
the stipulation that you had to talk it up.
With
right,
Buzz
right,
Agent, right?
right, Buzz
Yeah.
Agent, that's what it was.
Okay.
And they had sort of a frequent flyer kind of program for them to get rewards, and nobody was taking advantage of it. So they said, "Oh, maybe it's just not a very good program." And they asked them, and they're like, "Well, we just don't want it. We love doing this. This is, And the people who ran Buzz Agent were shocked. They were just like, "Really? Like, you don't want anything in return? Like, you want money?" And they said, "No, we just the fact that we know about these products before other people is reward enough." And you get that in the social media space. I mean, not consistently, and maybe not always with who exactly you want, but there's going to be a core number of people who, like David was saying, that little one screenshot got leaked out, and if they're the ones who can tell people about it, that's enough.
And so they love that, and they build that social currency, so their circles are turned to them, so it's just finding where everyone else is pointing and being able to influence them. Again, that's just exactly some of the value of social media. You can find those people who are identifying themselves, like CK is saying, like they're just shouting it out, saying, "Come and find me, I'm right here." It's really just a matter of looking.